Hello, and welcome to the CDAO Magazine interview series. I am Amy McNee with Informatica, and today I have the pleasure of talking with JC Lionti, Chief Data Officer. So JC, thank you for joining us, and congratulations for being named to CDAO Magazine's 2025 Data Leaders 100. To start, can you introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about your role?
Sure. Thank you, Amy, and really thank you for having me. I am the chief data and analytics officer at Mizuho. I have responsibility over what I call data usage, so analytics as well as AI. I think I joined Mizuho a little bit over 2 years ago. So creating, I will say, the role of chief data officer. And I would say my responsibility span from defining our strategy or governance processes, ensuring the quality of the different data assets, curating them, developing them, anything that has to do with, I will say, better understanding, meaning our data, cataloging, managing and developing metadata, reference data as well. I think falls under my group. The development of data-enabled solution as well. So thinking about analytics, we can think about AI as well. Meaning it also falls under my team's responsibility. But at the end of the day, so I'm really here to make sure that we use data in all of our decision-making processes, being to develop a business, to manage our risks, to optimize our operations, and so on. So that's really the way. If I have to summarize, I will say my responsibility in one sentence, that would be it.
All right. Well, listen, let's jump in. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here, but first to set a little bit of context. So 97% of CIOs and CDOs are struggling to show real business value from Gen AI. And I think that stat says a lot about where most organizations are in their AI journey right now. And I hear anecdotally from companies all the time that they struggle with showing sustained business value from AI. So not just one and done, but a continuous kind of circle value. So from your perspective, what are the top use cases that potentially offer you the biggest opportunities in your organization with Gen AI and AI in general?
So to answer your question, I believe one of the cause where people struggle with demonstrating sustained value could lie in the fact that how AI is being approached. AI is not a project. AI creates products, and products have to be curated. Products have to be, again, improved, have to be sustained, and have to be kept relevant to their use case in the enterprise. So when it comes to, I will say, the typical use case that helps you get started, operational efficiency typically means some of the easier ones. Okay, it's very easy to demonstrate that, yes, because you've implemented this and it costed you X to implement this, and it's going to cost you Y to run it, and show in front of it the money you saved. Okay, so those are usually, I think, the easier ones. But generally speaking, and the way we try to look at it is, we try to go after solutioning problems and pain points. So when we talk to some of our business partners, we try to understand where they're struggling, where they believe they're wasting time, what makes them, I would say, raise their shoulders and highbrow when they think about, I would say, things that may not be going the way they should. And we then start to look into those problems and see how we can solve them. And AI is a part of the toolkit that may be associated with this. So therefore, we try to bring, we're not developing AI solutions for the sake of developing AI solutions. Okay, don't get me wrong. The boards, senior management and boards and meaning all of our stakeholders very interested to see meaning how we're using AI and not. But when you try to be very careful as to meaning what we're investing and where, and even though some of what we do must meet some reusability criteria, and that's part of the initial investment, we try to make sure that we're all very clear as to the value and how to track the value, and therefore meaning how to monitor that value, the relevance of the use case over time.
So you brought up an interesting point, which is, of course, the board and and executives are interested in what you're doing with AI. I'm curious, how do you gain consensus with your stakeholders on what should be the highest priority? How do you get everyone to agree on what's the most important at this point in time?
When you try to align again, our strategy and AI being a very integral part of the data strategy to the business strategy. So I'm here to support and enable the business units. So we are working very closely with being senior management at different levels within the business units in bringing them solutions to solve their problem. So I think right now we're starting to see use cases where that crosses, or that will require us rather to arbitrage or prioritize across business units. And we have not yet been in those, I will say, very dramatic type of situation. Or the business units are very clear as to meaning how we can help them and how we will help them. And they've been usually fairly supportive in bringing sometimes additional funding in addition to the direct budget of my team at the enterprise level in order to develop those solutions. But we're not developing AI models. Okay, that's not what we do. Larger banks, meaning are investing still a significant amount of resources in developing their own models and their own solutions. We are really using and improving and adapting existing models to our needs and use case. So I would say the investments is not, I won't say that they are small, but they definitely, I will say, right now, very proportionate to our business ambitions. And I mean, we've been able to therefore get the buy-in from the different levels of executive leadership without, I will say, too much problem. In fact, I may even say that I may have the opposite problem, where sometimes it's more a question of, okay, how can you deliver more and faster?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point to end on. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today, sharing your ideas, your experience, and your observations. They've been really great. So to the audience, thank you for listening. And please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. So thank you, JC.
Thank you.